Okay, now that I'm zoomed in a little bit more, so what I'm doing now is just going through. I'm going to start with some collage. I guess I'm going for warm colors today. Let's see. These are just some old collage papers I have. All right, oranges and yellows it is, and I'll keep some blues and greens on hand for some accents. All right, if anyone's there, let me know by saying something in the chat, and let me know where you're calling from. Yes, this is my radio show. Let me know where you are right now in the world. I was in Miami this past week, or part of the past week, and it was my first trip anywhere outside of, a local road trip since my honeymoon 8 years ago, which is a little ridiculous, but less ridiculous when you realize that I have 3 young children who take up a lot of my time and energy. And we have not traveled with them because they take up a lot of time and energy, and we're just tired. We are just tired. So we haven't gone anywhere. Let's see here. I want to make sure I can see people. Can someone just say hello on the chat if you guys can hear me, so I know that things are working? And in the meantime, I will get cutting. Hi, Tony. Thank you for saying hello. Where are you right now, Tony? Are you in the US, somewhere else? Ah, near Wrigley. Hello. I'm currently sitting here drinking out of my, I don't know if you can see it without me pouring water all over everything, but my World Series champion Cubs pint glass here. Hi, Anne. Where are you today in the world? Florida. Oh, we're in Florida. I was there earlier this week. I was in Boca for a couple days, and then I went down to Miami for a couple days. It was hot. I think the low was like 86 degrees and the high was in the 90s. It was beautiful, but it was hot. All right, I'm not thinking too much about these shapes. It's probably obvious. And I probably won't use anywhere near that many because I only have some journal pages here, but I wanted to at least get some things cut in advance so that I've got some options. I find it easier to cut things ahead of time, and then I can just keep working when I decide I want to use shapes if I already have them. Pensacola. I have a good friend who, is she in Pensacola? I think she is in Pensacola. Yeah, it was very hot down there. But it had been a long time since I'd seen palm trees, and that in itself was wonderful. My husband and I also found, well, new to us, a great little kind of like healthy fast food restaurant called Pura Vida. I don't know if they have those up in Pensacola or not. It seemed to be a Miami chain, at least, with the most delicious food. I don't do gluten and can't really do dairy, so they had tons of gluten-free options. They had tons of dairy-free options. It was a really fresh food kind of place that was wonderful, and I'm so sad that we don't have one in Chicago. But maybe someday. All right, well, this is enough shapes for now. I'm just going to get started. I wanted to make a few things just so I had something interesting to play with. So I am going to, I guess, do a warm color palette today. I'm still going to do some black and white to start, as I like to do. And then I'm going to mix in some of these collage pieces and some mark making and go from there, but my black is clogged. I really like using these. These are like condiment bottles. Not the classiest way to keep your paint, but it's very handy. I have some arthritis issues, so it helps me a lot just to keep the paint flowing without needing to screw on and off paint caps all day long. My black is giving me trouble. Okay. Oh, to stop gluten. Yeah, you know, I've been basically gluten-free for a few years now, and it's not my favorite thing to be because I love cake and cupcakes, but I've been finding new ways to still get delicious desserts. And if you haven't tried Bob's Red Mill 1-for-1, like paleo flour, that's what we just substitute in recipes, it works surprisingly well. It's not going to be perfect, but I was very, very pleased with how it went. All right, let me get some paint here. I have not washed my brushes for a very long time, so you can see that my brushes are actually rusting, which is embarrassing. However, they will still work. And I guess I'll do some, I'm going to start with black today. With a smaller brush, holding the very end. Just to have a little less control. You may have noticed I don't like having a whole lot of control. And I guess because I don't like things feeling too contrived. I just don't like that feeling. So if I can't control it, I guess I don't have to blame myself if I don't like a mark, right? Maybe it's just, maybe I'm just cheating. All right. I'm purposely going over this now instead of waiting, just so I get some of the gray mixed in. And then I'll go back a little later and it won't be as gray. Oh, egg allergy, Anne. Yeah, eggs are tough because, as you know, they're in pretty much everything when it comes to baked goods. Huh. I did a diet, not a diet like to lose weight diet, but a diet like well, just for my arthritis, called the autoimmune protocol. And it was no eggs and no anything fun, really. It was mostly protein and vegetables. And I couldn't do eggs for a while, so we tried like a gelatin egg. Do you guys do that? It's like a substitution using gelatin in recipes. I think Bob's Red Mill also has like an egg substitute powder. I tried that once. I think it had a lot of salt in it, which is the only bad part. All right, so nothing super interesting going on yet. Let's see here. What if I add some crayons? Since I'm going on a warm theme, I will just do some oranges. Is anybody here from the UK? Spent the morning watching some of the procession of the Queen's coffin. Very sad. Wondering what things feel like in the UK right now. All right, this is almost dry enough for collage, so I'm going to start figuring out where to put some things. I may add some black in before I do that. Yeah, I think I will. I'm going to add some of this carbon black. This again is a high flow carbon black that I like to use. It's just very easy. And it's very dark. And it dries with some gloss to it. So if you're using different blacks, I have one that dries more of a matte finish and this one that's more of a gloss, so just to differentiate the black on black. Yeah, it is sad about the Queen. You know, obviously, I've lived in the US my whole life, so I've not been directly impacted by her. But I feel like just having a strong female leader in the world, it was just nice to know that, right, that she was there. Certainly there are other female leaders, but she was so constant for so long. Right? Probably none of us have been alive since before she was a queen. One of the things I love about, you know, this kind of painting where I'm not trying to paint anything in particular, it's more intuitive, is I really get to be surprised by how things turn out as well. Because I don't have any idea what it's going to look at the end either. Spray a little water, see if we can get some dots. trying to dry it a little bit quieter than the hairdryer. I may have to switch to that later, but for the time being, oh good, there we go. So we got some dots here from the water drying, keeping the paint wet. Anybody visit any place this summer that was fun for a vacation? Whenever I travel, even if I'm not traveling very far, I always tend to bring, well, I'm an overpacker, so right now let's set the stage for that. But I have so many things in my carry-on that it's ridiculous. Because even for a 2-hour flight, right, I don't know, I might want to journal, I might want to read a book, I might want to read this other book, I might want to do some art, so I'll bring my crayons, I might want to do some pen drawing, so I'll bring that, I might want to do some strategy, so I'll bring some worksheets. And then, of course, I just sit down and watch a movie on my iPad. So there's not really a whole lot of need for any of it, but it makes me feel good to have options, which I suppose is why I'm an overpacker to begin with. I think we'll do this here. This is just gloss medium. I don't usually use any gels. You certainly can. I just don't for whatever reason. It takes a long time for gel to dry, although they do help things stick better if you're using thick paper, which this paper is a little bit thicker than most. And because I'm not being very patient and letting things dry, you can see that I am smearing around some of the black paint, but I'm okay with that. And you like to bring lots of options too. It's just very comforting to have options. I don't know. It's probably why I have a big purse too. At any given moment, I could probably survive anywhere for a few days, given what I have in my purse. Pro tip here, if you are impatient like I am and you're not waiting for paint to dry, do remember to clean your brush before you add your next collage element. Because I have been burned before where I'll add something white and it'll have color or black all over it. And that's not a nice surprise if it's not what you're going for. All right, nobody went anywhere this summer? I find that hard to believe. What about local entertainment? Sitting here thinking how different this is than other things that I typically do. And that's why I like it. Tony, Chicago's too much fun with the weekend. That's true. Chicago is great. Summer and spring really are Chicago's shining seasons. All right, let's see here. You go to warm places when it's cold here. Yes. So you travel in the colder months. I didn't expect to like the yellow so much, but I really like the yellow. see. Yeah, thanks, Tony. I really like this yellow. I haven't used it for a while. It is called, I don't know how to pronounce it, Diary Lied Yellow? Not sure, but this is it. Golden has some great colors. Every time I set out to do something, especially in my sketchbook, if I'm doing something quickly, whoop, there's a lot of black here. Wipe that off. I always think I'm going to do something very different and very new, and I'm going to leave behind all my regular things. And I think I'm doing that as I'm making the piece. And then at the end, I'm like, oh yeah, that looks like it was made by me. So, excuse me. As much as I try to not do the same old thing all the time, sometimes that's just how it ends up. But I suppose that that's just because it's becoming my style, which I'm thrilled about because I was waiting for that, it seems like for years, without finding it. So I'm very happy that it's here. I can totally appreciate that, and yeah, tourists are never ideal to locals. I went to school at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, and it's just gorgeous. It's on three lakes, kind of right in the middle of three lakes, and there's so many beautiful spots, and it's a relatively small capital, which basically like adds a third of its population when the students come back to school. And during the summer when all the students are home, it is just magical. So I can relate, at least on that side of things, as to the benefits of having all the extra people gone. All right, so I feel like these pieces are just becoming too redundant because I cut them all from the same piece. So let's see what other colors I have here. All right, I could do some red. This is pretty cheery. Yeah, I hear you on the ketchup. The red and yellow, it really does remind me of McDonald's. So I do find you need to have some kind of bridging colors. That helps it a lot. So have some magentas, have some oranges and pinks and yellows. And that should help, depending on how hungry you are. And you notice I keep making things about this thickness, right? This is the same as this, is the same as this. So I'm going to make this smaller just to differentiate my pieces. Because I really don't want everything to be the same shape or the same weight. If you differentiate things, it's the quickest way, from my perspective, it's the quickest way to make things more interesting. Because then your eye wants to look around and see everything. You've got 8 shapes and they're all about the same size, your eye is kind of bored. Whether you consciously realize it or not. All right, this is a little too much. Put some antennas on this little building. Maybe down like this. All right, I like this because I like how it kind of brings this yellow color up and also kind of mimics these black lines back there. Do I want a third? No, I don't think so. But I do want something over here. Does anybody read, well, first of all, has anyone read any great books lately, whether creativity focused or otherwise? I just got a new book by Todd, I think his name's Todd Henry. He wrote The Accidental Creative, and he has a new book called The Daily Creative. It's kind of like a little devotional, but it's all art. So you read a little something every day just to keep your mind focused. I'm enjoying that quite a bit. My friend Katie and I have a book club. She's a creativity coach, and we're reading this book right now called The Meaning in the Making. And it says the why and how behind our human need to create. Very interesting. I've just started it. Only on page 24. But it really just talks about the difference between, for creativity purposes, right? It's like a whole dance between order and chaos. And I feel like I can definitely relate to that from my art and from my life. I think so many things are just a dance between that. Parenting certainly is, or has been for me. One of the things I started making after I had my kids and had a little bit of time to come back to art were, I called them pebbles. I'm not sure if I have one here to show you. I think I might. But I made these pebbled wood panels that I used a palette knife to put a bunch of colors down in the background. See, I keep cutting these to the same similar shape. Time for something new. And then over that, I would use a paint marker to draw some orb shapes. Let's see if I can find one of them. A couple that are undone. I don't know how noisy this is, so apologies if it's very noisy. Oh, I do have one in here. Hold on. Sorry, that's probably really loud. So this is one of my pebbles pieces. And I felt like the background was very much how I felt being a new mom, having twins and not knowing which end was up some of the days. And then when I added the black on top of that, that for me kind of was like me giving this a structure. Even though it was still wild and kind of free underneath, because I do think that both are important, right? You need to have some order. Otherwise, you know, I don't know. I don't know where you live. I don't know where you sleep if you don't have any order. But you also need to have free space too. Oh, thanks, Tony. Yeah, my mind's all over the place. You know, before I did my first live, I was like, I don't talk when I make things, so I don't know how this is going to go. Or what if it was worse? What if I did talk when I was making art and didn't realize it? And then I got on live, you know, a live stream and was just muttering to myself. Of course, this may be considered muttering to myself as it is. But it's interesting where the brain goes. And I have no doubt that every single artist probably has their own, you know, just the thoughts that go through everyone else's head. Right? Do I want this here? Do I not want this here? Why? Why not? All right. Now I need to get back to thinking about this and where these should go. I'm reordering some of these just so that I'm not matching them with how they were actually cut, just so it looks like they're all distinct pieces, because I don't want them to feel like they were all cut from the same piece, even though they were. All right, I'll put these here. Sure, why not? Although maybe I'll go sideways. I think instead I'm just going to put some of this down and glue them on without thinking so much. You don't have to, but I do like going over my collage pieces with more medium rather than just sticking the bottom down. I like having them sealed in on both sides. Yeah, Tony, it is fun to watch other people do things differently than you do them. Right? I always tell my kids, I'm like, there's more than one right way to do something. And I like it too when I watch other artists, because I love watching other artists work. It's funny when I assume something's going to go someplace. I'm like, oh, they're going to put that there, right? And they do something totally different. I'm like, no, what are you doing? And then, of course, at the end, it turns out great, or it turns out how they would like it, which is just fine. But it is amusing, because there's really no reason that I would expect them to do what I was thinking they were going to do. But it's always surprising nonetheless. All right, in honor of you, Tony, we're just going to scatter these around. Oops. It'll be very random since it's not sticking to the paper. All right, I think after this, I want to get some more transparent colors in here. To warm it up a little bit. And I'm trying to decide right now if I should add white first. And then do my other part. I suppose it really doesn't matter. All right, we'll put that guy way up there. It is like a little explosion, Tony. A little like... I think I'm going to do some transparent glazing and then probably add white and then probably do more glazing. Let's do that. Got my trusty quinacridone gold and I think I'm going to use some actual real gold. This is called Sun Gold. It's a Nova Color paint. Not sure how well it's going to show up on the camera, but it's a nice shimmer that I think is very tasteful and not very gaudy. All right, quinacridone gold. Let's see, where do I want this? Let's try some up here. Oh, what colors did you get from Nova Color? I really like them. It feels like you're part of a little club when you order through them. Well, when I do anyway. Earlier this year, I bought my first gallon of white paint. And I felt like, okay, my art career has definitely entered a different category since I'm buying paint by the gallon. And I think this last month I bought a gallon of gloss medium also, which seems like an incredible amount, which I suppose it is an incredible amount. Oh, the phthalo turquoise is really nice. I have the yellow ochre. I think I have iron oxide. I'm not sure, I don't have all those oxides, but I'm very interested. I'll look them up when I'm done with this to see what they look like. They're probably going to have some sort of quinacridone gold type color in there somewhere. Because I know they don't have a quinacridone gold. I can only find that at Golden. So if you find that somewhere else, let me know. Just to have options. All right, well, I was going to add some magenta, but I don't think I want to. I'm just going to keep it like this. So I'm going to add some white. All right, watch your ears, actually. I'm going to give this a little drying with my hairdryer, so turn down your volume. Sorry about that. I just don't want my colors to bleed all over the place. Okay, so white. What do I want to use for my white? I'm trying to use different things because I always use my color shaper. Not that that's bad. I'm just trying to remind myself that I have more tools than just that one. All right, so let's color up some of these things. My trip to Florida I was tagging along on one of my husband's business trips. We were also meeting lots of his coworkers, which was actually wonderful. But I felt a little self-conscious because, right, I've got like, I just call it my artist hands, right? I never use fingernail polish because otherwise the paint really sticks to my fingers. Otherwise it doesn't, and I can get away with things more often. And the night before we were there, I was like, oh, right, I guess every other person who's coming or every other spouse that's going or female employee is going to be having a nice manicure. But lucky for me, I don't really worry about that stuff because I generally always have paint in my hands, sometimes in my hair, but there's always paint somewhere. I try to have just certain clothes that I wear when I paint. Like I have a paint sweatshirt, like a hoodie that I wear in the winter. But I'm not always wearing that. And I always think, every single time, I think, no, I won't get any paint on me this time. Do you guys do that? Or am I just the only, like, delirious person thinking that this time I actually won't get paint on something? This is a little wooden stick that I have. Have you seen those papers that are black and you can scratch into them? It's probably called scratch paper. And there's like rainbow color underneath it. We used to do it as kids where we would just use crayons and then paint, like color over the whole thing with a black crayon and then you could carve into it. My kids use those and they keep losing all the sticks. And then when I find them, I keep them because I like using it for art. And they've moved on to something else anyway. But they're really great for that, for scratching into paint. Oh, I know, Tony, I have paint clothes, but then I'm lazy and I talk myself out of it. I don't know why. So I guess all my clothes turn into paint clothes at some point. And a couple years ago, I wanted to simplify things. So I just decided to basically wear, I just got like a whole bunch of the same type of clothes. I do have an apron. I do have an apron, but my paint is really good at getting wherever the apron isn't. Or, again, in my delusional states, I convince myself that I'm just going to be a minute and I won't spill paint, so I won't put the apron on. It's a problem, and clearly I'm the problem. But I simplified my wardrobe to just getting, 10 of the same tank tops and then 10 of the same t-shirts. And so basically it looks like I'm wearing the same thing every day, but it's all clean, I promise. But then what's happened now, right, is now it's like, oh, I can't wear this black tank top because this black tank top has like white paint on the top. So I have to find a different black tank top. Again, it's a problem and it's me. But I'm okay with it. Clearly I don't care that much. Okay. Do one more layer of paint of white. I think I'm going to put a little yellow ochre in it to make it a little creamier. Just a bit. It goes a long way. All right, there's a little cream. All right, where's my stick? All right, I'm starting to think about composition now, and I'm starting to think about where I want my shapes to be and what I want them to be like. So I like these soft edges. And I like that this is a bit harder. I don't think any of this is going to show because it's all white underneath, which is fine. All right, it's time for something different. Some turquoise. Where? How about here? And Really like this, how it's went right through the top layer of that cream paint. Did it a little bit here, but this paint was already mostly dry. All right, guys, hold on to your ears. More hairdryer. All right, hopefully you're still with me. Now is my big question. Do I add more yellow? Like a yellow ochre, sort of glaze? Or do I go for more black? I can do both, but what to do first? I think I'm going to do black first. And I think I'm going to use, what should I use? I'm going to use this. My trusty crazy brush. This is what happens when you don't use your brush and you leave it in water for weeks and weeks. It's a little bit ridiculous. However, I really like it. Okay, so I'm going to continue this over here. Okay, I like that. Gives it something. Now let's see with this side. Thinking of ways to make this a little less wispy and have some more firm. As I say that, it's becoming more wispy. Have just a more solid presence. All right, I think that's good with that brush. I do have some of my other black that's not super shiny. hold on one more time. I'm going to use my hairdryer again. All right, you guys probably noticed what I just realized about myself is that apparently I cannot think and talk at the same time. So it's probably very obvious that I just started thinking a lot because I'm trying to get some closure here, and I'm thinking about what I need for that. And I think what I need for that right now is just to quiet some areas down, and I'm going to do it with bone black, at least on this side. So this is bone black, and it is a transparent black of sorts. You see how it's picking up all that detail and all that texture from underneath here? So it's going to quiet down this white and bring out a ton of texture. And since this is an open paint from Golden, it says open, I used one of these last time too, it just means that it doesn't dry very fast, so you can manipulate it a bit more before it dries, since acrylic dries so fast. So you can see where I sprayed the water, it really shows up here because the paint didn't dry, even though I put it on very thin, in a very thin layer. All right, and I can even take my fingernail, put some stripes in there. All right, now let's see where to put it on the other side. I think we need some up here. We being I. Oh yeah, thanks, Anne. Isn't the kind of the transparent black interesting? I think it's such a unique thing. I never really realized that there was a black that was more transparent. It's interesting, you know, when you start learning and start going beyond the things that you used to know, you get to learn all sorts of things. I thought black was black. It's not. There's all sorts of different blacks you can pick from. I'm going to see. I don't think that's going to do anything for me. Put some down here just to highlight that a little bit. Highlight the other areas. So one way to quiet things down is just to make, right, by darkening this, it just makes the white stand out a bit more. Well, they're not, I don't think these are done, but I really like where they're going. And I'm wondering how I can keep them going. for a little while. I think the answer for me is going to be with a little bit more collage. Because I have all these black pages, interesting shapes. And butterflies. All right, let's see if I can get this much closer in a small amount of time. Let's see what I can do in the next 5 minutes. Note to self, clean out the caps of your paint tubes before you go live, Jackie. Holy smokes. Now this is a good example of something I should be using a gel on instead of this medium, because this is a few layers of paint and paper from a different collage that I peeled up off of a panel. But since I cheated, I can still make it work. I guess instead of cheated, I should say hacked, right? Because it's really a shortcut. No one's coming to see if I cheated on my art. I'm not sure there is a way to cheat on your art unless you're trying to pass someone else's work off as your own. Which has happened to my friends, and it's just awful. Okay. Well, I like that. Don't know that I have the right pieces here. So I can tie these black shapes in a bit more. All right, I am liking this one a lot. These aren't quite done, but I have a good place. I'm in a good place right here. So I'm gonna end this in a minute because otherwise it's gonna take me 9 years to upload. And I wanna make sure this gets out today. So, does anybody have any questions before I log off? And either way, thank you so much for joining me. I will post on Instagram if I do change these and finish them off. I will post on Instagram what the final product is, so you guys can catch up that way. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate you guys. And I will be on again, if not this week, next week for sure live. All right, thanks everybody. Bye. Bye Ann, bye Tony. Bye everybody else.